Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Mastering English Podcast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Sam.
And today we're diving deep into one of the most persistent, most frustrating, and just exhausting problems that language learners face.
hmm
Is that dreaded translation lag. You know the feeling, right? You have all the vocabulary, you understand everything. But when you try to speak, your brain just freezes.
It feels like your thoughts are running through quicksand. And the data on this is actually pretty stark. A native English speaker, they're usually talking at about 150 words per minute.
Which is just, normal conversation speak.
Exactly. But a learner who is stuck translating in their head, they're capped. They hit a ceiling of maybe 60, 70 words per minute.
That's less than half. So you're trying to have a conversation, but your brain is running at what, like 40% efficiency?
Yeah.
It totally explains why you just feel wiped out after a 10-minute chat.
It does. It's this feeling of double cognitive work, and it's, I think, the #1 barrier to real fluency. And that's our mission for this deep dive. We want to talk about the science behind achieving L2 inner speech.
L2 inner speech. Okay, that sounds technical.
This means training your brain to access and generate English directly without stopping off in your native language first. You're bypassing that translation trap completely.
So this isn't just about learning more words. This is about, like, rewiring your brain. This is how you finally break through those learning barriers that keep everyone stuck.
Totally. And we're going to walk you through exactly how that slowness happens and then, more importantly, give you the exact steps to fix it. And we found this really surprising daily commitment. It's less than 10 minutes.
Less than 10 minutes a day. See, that's doable. Plus, we're going to do our classic stop and unpack on 4 key vocabulary items, including words like plateau and internalize.
And stick around, because we do have a pop quiz for you at the end.
All right, before we get into it, if you love breaking down these big language concepts into small, actionable steps, do us a favor and hit subscribe to Mastering English Podcast and like this episode right now. It really helps us out.
It really does.
Okay, so let's unpack this core issue, the translation trap. We know it makes us slow, but what is actually happening in our brains? What's the mechanism?
We have to talk about something called cognitive load, or mental friction. When a native speaker hears English, it's a very direct process. Sound comes in, meaning is understood, response goes out, all in English.
One step. Simple.
Very simple. It's automatic. It uses almost no energy. If I say, "Are you ready?" your brain just goes straight to, "Yes, I am."
Right.
But for the learner who's translating, it's this. It's like a 4-part relay race happening in your head. And this is what linguists call high mental friction.
A 4-part relay race. Okay, break down those 4 steps for us.
So it starts with input, the English you hear. Step 1, your brain translates that into your native language, your L1, just to be, 100% sure it understood correctly.
So right away, there's a detour. That's the first bit of friction.
Exactly, the detour. Then step 2, you formulate the perfect response, but you do it in your L1. Because that's where you're most comfortable, where you have all the nuance.
Wait a second. Is that a bad thing? I mean, if I come up with a better, more complex answer in my own language, isn't that good?
It makes the answer more complex, sure, but it locks it into the L1 system. And that's the problem, because now you're at step 3, which is the hardest part, the output translation.
Translating your own thought back into English.
Right. And you're consciously searching for vocabulary. You're checking grammar rules you haven't really internalized yet. It's a huge strain.
Wow. So you're not just speaking. You're translating the question, forming an answer, then translating your own answer, all while trying to keep up with the conversation. That sounds incredibly stressful for your brain.
It's a massive overload on your working memory. Every time you consciously search for a word, you're using the slow, analytical part of your brain instead of the fast, automatic language centers. That is the definition of mental friction. It kills speed.
I can see that now. It feels like you're trying to build something delicate and the person you're talking to is just yelling, faster, faster.
Precisely. And that friction leads directly to what we call the learning ceiling. It's why so many learners get stuck at that B1 or B2 level.
A famous plateau. They have the knowledge, but not the speed.
They don't have the automaticity. The whole translation system is just too slow to support advanced, complex conversation.
Okay, so here's a question I'm sure people are thinking. If I have to translate, shouldn't I just get really, really good at translating? Like, make my translation loop super fast?
That's such an important question, and the answer is a definite no. Because practicing fast translation just reinforces the problem. It makes that detour mandatory. It stops your brain from ever building the direct connection.
Can you give me an example of how that, fails in a real conversation?
Totally. Imagine you're watching a fast-paced movie. You might miss a really simple word, a word you definitely know, like refrigerator.
Okay.
You didn't miss it because you don't know the word. You missed it because your brain was busy running that whole four-step translation loop on the previous sentence, and by the time it finished, the movie was 3 sentences ahead.
So it's not about knowledge. It's about the speed of access. That's the bottleneck.
Exactly. It's about automaticity. And there's a psychological side, too. Translating makes you obsessed with perfection. You're always checking yourself internally. Is that the right article? Is that the right tense?
Your inner grammar critic is just screaming at you.
It really is. But when you start thinking directly in English, you shift your focus. The goal becomes communication, not perfection. And once you make that shift, your confidence just skyrockets. And that confidence is what fuels real fluency.
We've used that word a few times now. Plateau. Let's stop and unpack that one. I've heard it used for everything, from business to fitness. What does it mean specifically for us, for language learning?
Good question. Let's not think about the geography like a flat-topped mountain. For our purposes, a plateau is when your progress just stops. Or it slows way, way down, especially after a period where you are improving really quickly.
So you hit this ceiling, and no matter what you do, you just can't seem to get any higher.
You got it. It's stagnation after a period of success.
Okay, can you give us those 3 distinct examples so we can really hear how it's used?
Absolutely. Let's start with a formal one, maybe from a business meeting. Despite implementing new digital tools, the company's customer satisfaction ratings reached an unexpected plateau during the fiscal quarter.
Okay, a measurable flat line.
Got it.
What about something more casual and personal?
A super common one is with fitness. I think I've hit a workout plateau. Lifting the same weights just isn't challenging anymore, and I'm not seeing results.
I feel that one.
Mm.
Okay, now how about a funny or weird one, just to stretch the concept?
How about this? My ability to stay awake during long online meetings seems to have reached a 7-minute plateau.
I definitely feel that one too. Okay, let's try a quick role play. I'm going to complain to you about my English.
I'm ready.
Ugh, Sam, I'm feeling so frustrated. I can read anything, I can watch movies with no problem. But the second I'm in a fast conversation, my speaking speed it doesn't get any better. It's stuck.
Ah, that is the classic sign, my friend. It sounds like you've definitely hit the intermediate plateau, you've mastered all the passive stuff, but your old study methods aren't working anymore for active speaking.
I feel like I need some new strategy to finally break through this plateau.
Perfect. You used both of our target words right there, and you mentioned the key collocations. What words usually go with plateau?
Well, I said hit a plateau, and I know you can also reach a plateau.
Exactly. Those are the 2 most common ways to talk about arriving at that point. And the most important one for us, the goal, is to break through a plateau. And in our world, you'll hear the phrase intermediate plateau all the time to describe this exact B1, B2 problem.
So if the old methods get us stuck on this plateau, we need a totally new approach. How do we build that direct processing muscle?
The alternative is a linguistic approach called the direct method. So traditional methods are all about explicit knowledge. You memorize a grammar rule, then you consciously apply it. The direct method flips that on its head.
Okay.
It prioritizes massive amounts of listening, of auditory input, and then spontaneous speaking over just memorizing rules from a book.
So we're trying to become the person who speaks naturally, even with a few mistakes, instead of the person who gets a perfect score on a grammar test but can't order a coffee.
Precisely. We're building implicit knowledge. We want to develop a gut feeling, an instinct for grammar. You just know it sounds right. You don't have to stop and think about the rule. And this is where podcasts are the perfect tool.
Why podcasts specifically? Why not just read more?
Because that inner voice we're trying to build is auditory. It's sound-based. Podcasts give you that authentic, contextual, auditory input. You hear natural speed, you hear natural rhythm, and you hear language in chunks, in context.
But hold on, if I listen to some super advanced podcast about, I don't know, quantum physics, I'm just going to get lost and tune out, right?
You absolutely will, and that's why we have to talk about the Goldilocks rule for choosing your material.
Not too hard, not too easy, but just right.
Exactly. You need to aim for about 80% comprehension. If it's too easy, like 95%, you're not learning, you're just reviewing. But if it's too hard, say below 70%, your brain gets overwhelmed.
And that's when it switches back to translating, to try and survive.
Yes. That's the mental friction again. Your brain wastes all its energy just trying to figure out what the words mean instead of absorbing the patterns. That 80% sweet spot keeps you engaged and learning without being overloaded.
Okay, so we find our Goldilocks podcast. How do we then take those words and patterns and make them stick? How do we move them from just recognizing them to actually using them?
That is all about intensive repetition. The only way to move a word from passive knowledge to active recall is through a lot of repetition. Linguists call this process chunking.
And chunking is when you stop hearing three separate words, like deeply regret, and instead you hear it and process it as one single unit.
Precisely. And to force that to happen, the research recommends truly intensive study. We're talking about listening to the same podcast episode 20 times or more.
20 times for one episode. That sounds kind of insane.
It sounds like a lot, but something amazing happens in your brain. The first few listens, you're just getting the meaning. Maybe listens 5 to 10, you're noticing grammar and vocabulary. But somewhere around listen 15 to 20, the magic happens. The patterns bypass your conscious brain. They become automatic. They become habits. That is the process of truly internalizing the language.
Okay, that brings us right to our next key word. Let's unpack internalize. How is that different from just memorizing something? Because I memorize words all the time and then forget them.
That's the core difference. Memorizing is conscious work. You put a fact in your brain, and it takes effort to pull it out again. To internalize something is to make it so deeply ingrained, so automatic, that you use it without thinking.
So if I memorize, I think of the rule, then I apply it. If I internalize, the rule is just part of me. The words just come out.
That's a perfect way to put it. The knowledge moves from the slow analytical part of your brain to the fast, automatic habit center.
That's the goal. All right, give us our 3 examples so we can really get a feel for this verb.
Okay, a formal example, maybe in a professional training context. The goal of the course was to help new hires internalize the company's core safety protocols so they would act correctly in an emergency without panicking.
It has to be automatic. Makes sense. How about a casual one?
Something with a skill. It took me months to internalize the rules of driving on the left side of the road when I moved to the UK. Now I don't even think about it.
And the weird or funny one?
How about this one? My parrot has internalized my morning alarm sound and now copies it perfectly at 5 a.m. every morning.
That's a very effective and very annoying example of internalizing. Okay, let's do mini skit. I'm going to struggle with a phrase I've only memorized.
Let's hear it.
So I learned this new idiom, bite the bullet. And I want to use it. I have to bite the bullet and do my taxes. Wait, is it bite the gun? No, bite the lead. Ugh, I can't remember the exact words.
See, that's a perfect example. You've memorized the idea, but you haven't internalized the chunk. If you had truly internalized it, bite the bullet would have come out instantly as one piece. No hesitation.
That hesitation is the giveaway. Okay, so what are some common collocations for internalize?
It's a pretty intense verb, so it usually goes with abstract ideas. We internalize rules, we internalize knowledge, we internalize a pattern, and when we want to add emphasis, we say something is deeply internalized. That means it's really a core part of you now.
Okay, so we've got our Goldilocks podcast for input, and we're using repetition to internalize it. But that's all input. How do we train the output part? How do we start actually thinking in English?
Right. Input alone isn't enough. You have to practice output. And the best way to do that with no partner is by activating your L2 inner speech.
That's the 5 to 10 minutes a day thing you mentioned.
It is. The technique is called internal dialogue training, or basically self-narration, and it follows a really simple 3-level progression.
Okay, walk us through the roadmap.
Level 1 is the easiest, whispers. These are just simple, immediate thoughts in English. Things like, I'm feeling tired, or, oh, the train is late. Super short, low-pressure phrases.
Just getting the brain used to thinking in English for a second.
Exactly. Now, level 2 is the really important one for B1, B2 learners. This is the voice, or detailed self-narration. You start describing your actions and your surroundings in full sentences.
So instead of just thinking, I'm pouring cereal, you push yourself a little bit more.
Right. You push for more complexity. Instead of, I am going to the store, you think, I need to remember to buy milk, otherwise I won't have anything for my coffee tomorrow morning. You're forcing yourself to use conditionals, future tenses, all in a practical way.
So you're moving from just describing to, like, low-level planning and problem solving.
Exactly. And then level 3 is the goal for advanced learners. That's abstract thought. This is when you're no longer talking about what's right in front of you. You're debating ideas, planning for the future, analyzing complex topics, all inside your head, all in English.
You're thinking things like, I wonder how this new policy will affect my job next year.
Precisely. Or, I need to think through the arguments from that documentary I saw. You're forcing your brain to sustain complex thought in your L2.
That feels like a huge jump, though. How do you stop yourself from just switching back to your native language when the idea gets really complicated?
That's the biggest challenge for sure. The key is what's called the substitution method. You move from just passively narrating to actively asking and answering your own questions. In English,
Give me an example of that shift.
okay, so instead of just thinking, I'm washing the dishes, which is passive, you ask, why am I doing this now? Should I wait? What will happen if I don't finish this? You're forcing English to be the language you use for planning and evaluating.
So it's not just the language of description, it's the language of thinking itself.
Exactly. And that moment where you get stuck, where you want to switch back to your L1, that's a gift. It instantly shows you exactly where the gaps are in your vocabulary or grammar.
And the best way to fill those gaps is by learning words in those easy-to-grab chunks.
That's the key. To reduce that mental friction, you need to learn in collocations. Your brain retrieves the whole phrase as one unit, and that eliminates the need to translate.
This is such a critical idea for speed. So let's unpack it. Why is learning a collocation, two words together, so much more powerful than learning them separately?
Because a collocation becomes a single unit in your brain. It's just a group of words that native speakers naturally put together. When you learn them that way, your brain doesn't have to build the phrase from scratch every time. It just grabs the whole pre-made chunk.
So instead of thinking, is it strong rain or powerful rain? My brain just goes straight to heavy rain. It's faster.
It's way faster. It's all about efficiency. Let's do our 3 examples and notice how using the wrong word, even if the meaning is right, just sounds off.
Yeah.
A formal example. The witness promised to give a full account of what happened. A learner might say a complete story, which is fine, but full account is the natural, professional-sounding chunk.
Right, it sounds more official. What about a casual one?
Let's talk about social plans. Let's throw a party this weekend. A learner might translate word for word and say, make a party, which immediately signals that it's not a natural phrase for them.
You can just hear the difference instantly. Throw a party is automatic, and the funnier or weird one.
This one shows how tricky it can be. My friend said, I need to make a fast decision. But the only natural collocation is to make a quick decision. Even though fast and quick mean basically the same thing.
That's what makes them so hard to learn on your own. Okay, let's try a role play. I'm going to use an unnatural one.
Go for it.
Sam, I'm so stressed. I have so much to do at work. This project requires a lot of hard work.
I get what you mean, but a native speaker would probably say you have a heavy workload. Or maybe that these are demanding chores. See how that just sounds a little more natural? Heavy workload is the chunk your brain is looking for.
Heavy workload. It just flows better. So what are the common structures we should be looking for when we're studying?
You should always be hunting for 3 main patterns.
Huh?
First, adjective plus noun, like heavy rain. Second, verb plus noun, like commit a crime. And third, adverb plus adjective, like deeply sorry. Learning these pairs just makes them instantly available.
Okay, so we've got input, repetition, and internal output. What are the actual sound of our voice, the pronunciation, the rhythm, the music of the language?
For that, you need to train your mouth, and the best technique for that is shadowing. Shadowing is when you listen to a speaker and you imitate them almost instantly, like an echo.
I've tried shadowing. It feels so awkward at first. I just sound like a mess trying to keep up.
What's the secret to getting over that initial clumsy phase?
That awkward feeling is a good sign. It means you're breaking old habits. The advice is simple. Start with slower audio and focus on the sound, not the meaning. You're training your muscles, not your brain.
And why is this so important for our inner voice?
Because it directly trains your prosody. Prosody is the rhythm, the stress, the intonation of language. Your inner voice hears thoughts with a certain rhythm. Shadowing helps you hardwire the correct, natural rhythm.
Can you give us an example of why prosody is so important?
Of course. Take the word present. If I say present with the stress on the first syllable, it's a noun, a gift.
But if I say present with the stress on the second syllable, it's a verb, to give something. If your inner voice gets that stress wrong, your speaking will be confusing. Shadowing fixes that.
That makes so much sense. So if my inner voice has a consistent rhythm, my spoken words will follow that pattern automatically.
Exactly. Which brings up another key point from the research. Accent consistency is key. When you're doing this kind of intense training, you have to pick one accent, say North American or British, and stick with it for your inner voice template.
Why is mixing accents a bad idea at this stage?
Because it creates more of that mental friction. Your brain needs one clear, stable model to copy. If it's hearing two different models, it wastes energy trying to figure out which one to use instead of just making the process automatic.
So pick a lane and stay in it. If I'm using all ears English, I stick with that sound. If I'm using loose English podcasts, I stick with that sound, at least for a while.
For this intensive phase, yes. Once it's all automatic, you can play around more. But to break through the plateau, consistency is your best friend.
Speaking of consistency, what else can we do to create that kind of immersion bubble, no matter where we live?
Creating an immersion bubble is so important. The two easiest things to do are, first, the English-only search. Anytime you look up a new word, you have to use an English-to-English dictionary.
Ugh, that's so much harder. Sometimes I don't understand the definition.
I know, but that difficulty is the whole point. Using a bilingual dictionary just reinforces that translation habit. An English-only dictionary forces your brain to stay in English mode. It's tough, but necessary.
Okay, that's one. What's the other?
Change your device languages, your phone, your computer, everything. Switch it all to English. It makes English a constant part of your daily life. Every notification, every menu is practice.
That's a great, actionable tip. Now, we've talked a lot about getting past these barriers, so let's stop and unpack our final phrase for today. Breakthrough.
Yes, a great one. Breakthrough is a really powerful phrasal verb. It means you successfully overcome some big obstacle or barrier, and it usually results in a sudden major step forward.
It sounds really active, like a real achievement. Let's get our 3 examples.
Okay, a formal one, maybe about science. After years of research, the scientists finally had a breakthrough in their cancer treatment. Notice there it's used as a noun, a breakthrough.
A huge success. What about a more casual, personal example?
I failed my driving test twice, but after a lot of practice, I finally broke through the difficulty and passed on my 3rd try.
And the weird or funny one?
How about this? My cat spent all day trying to figure out the new puzzle feeder. He was determined to break through the defenses to get to the treats.
I can picture that. Okay, let's try a quick role play. I'm going to be a friend who is about to give up on something.
All right.
I just can't do it, Sam. I've been working on this report for weeks, and I'm totally stuck. I think I'm just going to quit.
No, don't give up now. This is always the hardest part, right before you figure it out. You've done all the hard work. You are so close to a breakthrough moment. Just stick with it.
You're right. I just need to get that one new idea to break through this mental block.
Perfect use. And like you heard, it's often used with words that represent barriers. You break through a ceiling, break through the difficulty, break through the defenses. It's all about overcoming resistance.
Okay, this has been so practical. To wrap things up, let's talk about content. How do we match the right podcast to our specific goal?
This is key. You can't just listen to random things. The research gives us a really clear, tiered roadmap.
Let's start with the B1, B2 level, what you call the translation trap. What's the goal here, and what should people be listening to?
The goal at this stage is to build that inner voice and learn automatic chunks, so you need structured practice. The top recommendations are QLIP's ESL podcast and All Ears English.
And why those 2 specifically?
QLIP's is great because it's all about chunking, and they have special episodes for intensive, repetitive study. It's perfect for building automatic vocabulary. And All Ears English focuses on communication and rhythm over perfection, which is exactly what you need to build confidence.
Okay, so they help you build the foundation. Then you get to the B to C1 stage, the stubborn intermediate plateau. What's the goal now?
Now the goal is sustained immersion. You need huge amounts of authentic input. The #1 recommendation here is Luke's English podcast.
Right, LEP is famous for being really long and authentic. How does that help break the plateau?
Because it forces your brain to process natural, challenging English for a long time, often an hour or more. You're not getting simplified language. You're building that subconscious instinct for grammar just by listening to so much real conversation.
So you're building up your mental stamina. And finally, the C1, C2 level, abstract thinking.
At this stage, you need content that forces you to think about complex ideas in English. The best one for this is thinking in English.
Because it covers topics like philosophy or history, things that are complex in any language.
Exactly. If you only listen to simple daily conversations, your inner voice will stay simple. By listening to intellectually demanding content, you force your inner voice to operate at that higher level just to keep up.
So you use the difficulty of the topic as the training tool. That's a great strategy.
It is. And for any of these, you can't just listen once. You need to use the multi-pass active listening strategy.
Okay, break down the passes for us.
Pass 1 is for gist. Listen once without a transcript to see what you can understand. This tells you if it's the right level, that 80% Goldilocks level.
Okay, benchmark set. What's past two?
Pass 2 is for analysis. Now you listen again, but with the transcript. You pause, you look up words in your English to English dictionary, you highlight collocations. This is your active study time.
This is where you're really digging in and collecting those chunks.
Right. And finally, pass 3 is for automation. You listen again and you shadow the speaker. You're just focusing on copying their rhythm and their prosody. This is what makes the patterns automatic.
So just analysis, automation. That's a really clear framework. What about for our most advanced learners? Is there an ultimate drill?
The ultimate drill is transcription. You listen to a short, challenging clip and you type out every single word. It forces your brain to connect the sound to the written words so tightly, it dramatically speeds up your processing time.
Wow. This whole process just shows that fluency isn't magic. It's just a systematic daily habit. You have to make English the language of your inner life.
Consistency is everything. Find you 10 minutes. Start narrating your day. Use the collocations you're learning and be kind to yourself. Focus on connection, not perfection. That mindset shift is maybe the most important thing of all. All right, Alex, you ready for the pop quiz?
I am ready. Let's do it.
Listeners at home, play along with us. Question 1. What do you call that point where your progress stops, usually around the B2 level?
That is the plateau.
Correct. Question 2. What's the process of making a phrase so automatic you use it without thinking? Is it memorizing or internalizing?
Definitely internalizing.
Spot on. Question 3. True or false? Make a fast decision is a natural English collocation.
That is false. The natural one is make a quick decision.
Excellent. Final bonus question. Question 4. When you're practicing shadowing, what are you trying to improve besides just pronunciation?
You are training your prosody, the rhythm, stress, and intonation of the language.
Perfect score. You've clearly internalized today's concepts.
I feel like I just broke through a learning barrier myself.
You did. Okay, so let's summarize the 3 things everyone listening should do this week.
Number 1, start the self-narration habit. Just 5 or 10 minutes a day.
Number 2, find your Goldilocks podcast, that 80% comprehension level, and use the multi-pass strategy.
And number 3, learn language in collocations, in chunks, not just single words.
Now for the micro challenge. To start building that immersion bubble right now, your mission is to change your phone or computer's language to English this week.
It's a simple change, but it makes a huge difference.
It really does. Good luck with your cognitive shift.
We really hope this deep dive gave you a clear plan for moving past translation and finally thinking in English. And don't forget to like and subscribe to Mastering English Podcast.
And please share this with a friend who is also trying to break through their intermediate plateau.
I'm Alex. See you next time.
And I'm Sam. Bye.